going to try to punch Maddie. I come and I pull my hand back. Woo! And she's able to throw me straight over her head.
How can she do that?
So,
are you older than her?
I am older, and I am bigger.
Do that.
She can use the momentum.
Is part of the beauty of Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Yeah.
Let's give her two big claps.
How about you for like a foul? Does that hurt?
Now, here's the thing about Jiu-Jitsu and other martial arts where you're punching and kicking. How big you are or how strong you are really makes a big difference. But in Jiu-Jitsu, it's actually created for a smaller person like myself or maybe like one of y'all to be able to defend yourself against a larger, stronger opponent. Now I have another question. Who's heard of the story of David and Goliath? Now in that story of David and Goliath, something that a lot of people don't talk about is that everybody else that was a part of the family of Israel was afraid of Goliath. They were all worried. They were all scared. But David wasn't. David knew that the God was going to fight for him. But I also did a little bit of studying this morning and I found something a little bit more intriguing. So in case you didn't know, David had a slingshot. He was really good with that slingshot. And he used one rock to sling that rock right at Goliath, and it slayed Goliath. But did a little bit of research. I was wondering, where did he get the slingshot? Where did it come from? Why did he have it? And so I did a little bit of research, and David had that slingshot because he would take care of his father's sheep. He would watch after them. And at one point, he told a story about how a lion and a bear tried to come take his father's sheep. And he hit that rock, used that slingshot to scare off the lion and the bear. And he then had to chase them down to go get the sheep, and he said that he used his hands to slay that lion and that bear. Do you think David was bigger than the lion or the bear?
No.
Do you think David was bigger than the Goliath?
No.
Then we go a little bit deeper. I got a little bit more curious because has anybody ever heard the verse, "The Lord, blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle"? Anybody heard that? Does anybody know who wrote that song? David. David wrote that song. David had gone through training with the Lord. He had gone through a period of learning how to use the slingshot to protect his father's sheep. And in a moment that was very scary for a majority of God's people, David had faith. David believed in the training that the Lord had given him. And that training had come through years and years of using that slingshot to defend those sheep. And so, through that training, he was preparing, God was slowly preparing David for this giant moment against Goliath. Now, let me remind you of that bully that I dealt with. He was way bigger than me. He was way bigger, way stronger. He might have even been older. And I couldn't do anything. And there's a good chance that if you were ever to deal with a bully, maybe way bigger than you too. And even if it's not a person, maybe it's a situation in life that feels too big to conquer, too big for you to overcome. Something that Jiu-Jitsu has shown me, and I know that it has shown Miss Maddie, and I want to let her talk about that for a little bit in a second. It has shown us that no matter how small, how weak you might feel, how little in comparison to the person or the problem that's standing in front of you, you can overcome it. But it's not going to be something that is simple and easy. It's something that is going to require training. In training our body, in training ourselves, it's something that is going to require training. In training our body, in training ourselves in any discipline, whether you like volleyball, football, basketball, ping pong, jiu-jitsu, any activity, when you train your body, you're glorifying God. Because God created you, and He made you to build yourself up. He made you to be able to learn these skills and learn these tasks to carry out His will on this world. And again, back to fear. Bullies come in and they interrupt this whole beautiful process, and they make you scared. And again, I remind you, did the Lord give us a spirit of fear?
No.
Or did He give us a spirit of power and of love? Well, in Jiu-Jitsu, I love to show kids like yourselves where they have power that they might not have known. Where they can still love their enemy and not have to conquer them and slay them, and instead control them and possibly show them a better way. And that's something that we do day in and day out. Another thing that I would like to bring up, in Ephesians, it talks about how we do not battle against flesh and blood. We battle against things in the spirit realm. We battle against things on a spiritual level. And a big thing that I've learned through martial arts is a lot of what it takes to be successful in a fight are the very same things that it takes for you to be successful in your spiritual walk with God. And I'll close out my little piece of things with finishing off with another thing that Timothy said. Timothy came in and said, fight the good fight of faith. And I thoroughly believe with all of my heart and every bit of faith that I have that learning to defend yourself, learning to overcome your Goliath, learning to get past that and train yourself in the ways of the Lord is one of the ways that you fight this good fight. Now, with that, I personally want to share something else that just kind of popped into my head. Can I have everyone repeat after me? Say, oos!
Oos.
Say, oos!
Oos.
Oh, come on. You got more power than that. Say, oos!
Oos.
Oh, come on. I know those kids over there are laughing, but we should try to wake them. Everyone say, oos! Oos! There we go. Okay, we won't be so loud anymore. Oos is originally a Japanese word that means persevere when pushed. So what that means to us is when things get tough, we keep going. And so that is one of the primary things that I want to leave you with. Things get tough in life. Bullies show up every now and then. Sometimes your Goliath comes in and it feels like there's no way to get past it. But not only through martial arts, but through other things, you can learn to strengthen yourself, to train yourself, to prepare yourself for your potential Goliath moments. And another thing, part of why I gave you oos is because a big thing in our classes is when I say oos, it's kind of me going, do you understand? And the best answer to that is you saying oos. Silas, you understand how to do this. You want to demonstrate with them real quick? Okay, so let's say I ask you a question. How do you do a bridge and roll?
You trap the arm and you bridge and roll.
That's pretty good, man. Is there any other escapes that we can do?
The trick escape. It's like when you push the push your opponent's legs to go to guard.
Yeah, that's absolutely another spot. But did you know that there are more escapes? There's one where you could bump, get your knees in, and you can start to work some other stuff. Oos.
Oos.
That was the whole thing I was waiting for. Did you see how after I said oos and it sounded like a question, he said oos and it sounded like the answer?
Mm-hmm.
You all want to give that a try?
Sure.
So have you understood what I've been talking about? Oos.
Oos.
All right. Have you had a good time looking at some of these things that Miss Maddie can do to me? Oos.
Oos.
All righty. Now, Miss Maddie, would you like to share some of your story?
Yeah, so I started Jiu-Jitsu about 4 years ago. And okay, let me ask a question too. Does anybody ever get nervous when they're trying new things? Yes, okay. So I was very nervous, but my nervousness was like for school and for work and different things like that. But especially when Coach Austin asked me to join Jiu-Jitsu, I was super nervous. But getting into classes, my first day, and just like me being small with Coach Austin, I had one of you guys, a 9-year-old little girl, that she tapped me out almost 10 times in 2 minutes. And I was like, okay, this is what Jiu-Jitsu is. This is what we can control somebody with. And so it made me a little more comfortable getting in the room, but it also made me want to get up and go and start it. So getting in there, I was super nervous. And right now, I won't even lie to you, I'm nervous talking to you, but there's stuff that you can learn from and I can share with you and hopefully you can grow from. And getting in there, I started, and for the first couple weeks, it was a little tough, but going through, I got to show myself what I was capable of, improve some things to myself, and build that confidence to where I wasn't as nervous as often going through. But I could also work on controlling my emotions at home, at school. I could focus better, I could listen better, and help my brain work better. And those are the big things that Jiu-Jitsu helped me with. But along with that is where I started getting into my faith with Jesus more and building my relationship with him. And there was a lot of things that I went through that were very similar, just like Coach Austin says, when you're going through Jiu-Jitsu and battling, or martial arts and battling those things, it's a very similar walk to your walk with God whenever you're going through struggles. And a big thing that we talk about with kids your age is whenever things start getting uncomfortable, you guys start being challenged, you don't know that that's a great moment for you guys. So that's where y'all can grow through that and say, I can do it anyway. And you can show yourself that you can survive and you can do it. And you can build up your confidence in that way, going through. But we talk to the parents about encouraging them through those moments and through that growth and discomfort, because nobody likes to grow, nobody likes to change their habits. But if it's something that's going to benefit us, that's what we want to work on and do. But we can also start building your confidence and reassurance to where you can take action, you can defend yourself in a situation if you need, you can go through those different things. So those are the big aspects that Jiu-Jitsu helped me with, and I've seen a lot of kids be helped with too.
Does anybody have any questions about Jiu-Jitsu? No? All right, so my thought, yes sir?
I was gonna say that's like maybe your favorite moves, a little
Absolutely.
more different.
So one of my absolute favorite moves growing up was always a double leg takedown. It was very straightforward. Most of y'all are gonna know it as a tackle. And you've probably seen a bully try to do this. But when we do it in Jiu-Jitsu, we do it with a little bit more control, but also with more details. So I'll start off. Imagine that her and I were wrestling, because this is a bully conversation. This is something that you use against bullying, but it is also a sport. It is also something that you can go compete against other people in to test who's got the better form of Jiu-Jitsu, who's doing it better, who knows it better, who's got the more applicable technique. So one of my favorites has always been a double leg takedown. I get her pulled down so that she thinks I'm trying to pull her to the ground, and she stands up. I shoot in, I lift her up, and I get her down on the ground. Now, as we get into Jiu-Jitsu, we talk about how some bullies are not easy to deal with. Some bullies require a little bit more action. So if this was a bully that you were dealing with in your, say, in elementary school, at this point, you probably don't have to do anything else. You've scared this person, you've taken control, and they're not gonna be able to hurt you anymore. But as you get a little bit older, sometimes bullies get a little bit more resistant. They're willing to keep trying to hurt you, even after you've shown them that you know how to control this situation. So from there, let's imagine Maddie was still trying to fight and get away. I would move forward and get on top, and she's still continuing to try to fight and get away. And now I'll take her arm and I'll stretch it out. And this is where we'd be able to have a conversation with the bully and go, hey, I could break your arm right here. If you don't stop trying to hurt me, I will. But if you leave me alone, I'll let you go. And bullies, they're not very dumb, are they? Don't you think they're gonna stop fighting you? Hopefully. And at that point, we can give them their arm back and we can step away. But then again, of course, if she comes and she tries to attack me again, I could put her in another position. Here's where I get to my absolute favorite type of moves in Jiu-Jitsu, strangleholds. I can wrap my arm all the way around, slide my hand behind, and from there I can squeeze and tap. And now I have a question. If you were to guess, would you think that the arm bar where I could have broken her arm or the chokehold was more dangerous? Chokehold. Why would you think that?
Because you need your airway to have, number one, your brain to get blood, and you also have to breathe in your heart and start pumping, because that's what the brain does.
So, do you know what the process actually is when somebody is choked? What happens to your body?
It shuts down.
The blood that is pumping through your throat no longer makes it to your brain, and you get knocked out. Now, it's not the same as like getting punched and knocked out. It's more like just kind of falling asleep. And you would have to hold on for almost another 6 minutes for it to actually start causing any long-term damage. Because I've watched many of people in my life be choked out. I personally have been choked out, and I can tell you from experience what happens after that. You wake up and you're fine. You might be a little confused, you might be a little lost, but you are 100% okay in less than 30 seconds. Now I have a follow-up question. If I break your arm because you won't stop, is that going to heal in 30 seconds?
No.
That's gonna probably take a couple of months, right? So I ask you again, which one was more dangerous, the chokehold or the arm bar?
The arm.
Armbar.
The arm bar. You are correct. And that's scary. That's very simple to understand when somebody explains it to you, but almost every single one of you in the beginning told me me that the chokehold was more
I
dangerous.
feel like with the chokehold, you have a bit more control rather than the armbar.
You're absolutely correct about that as well. I've taken more control over her body, and I've also put her into a position where she has very little choices on anything to do, simply because I've gotten behind the opponent. Now, Jiu-Jitsu will teach you a lot of things in life that are a little bit backwards, kind of like that. Y'all thought the choke was more dangerous, when in reality, the armbar was. But at the same time, another things that kids your age tend to think is that when things get tough, or when things start getting a little too rough, or you start getting uncomfortable, and that means it's time for you to stop. And that's actually backwards. Because when things start getting rough, and things start getting uncomfortable, things start getting difficult, that's actually a sign that you're actually going in the right direction. And those are the growing pains that the Lord is giving you to allow you to build yourself up, to allow you to become more than what you are at this very moment. And one of the biggest things that I see kids your age, people my age, adults way older than us, we give up too easy. We quit. We walk away because it was just a little bit too tough. And the truth is how many Bible characters went through tough stuff? All of them. Every single last one of them. How many of them gave up? There were some that tried. Jonah ended up having to get eaten by a whale because he was trying to stray away from God's plan. But the point is Jiu-Jitsu, martial arts as a whole, one of the biggest things that it highlights is that this isn't supposed to be easy. This isn't supposed to be 100% fun. It's going to be tough. But you can do it. You can get through it. And while it might not be easy, it is good. Oos?
Oos.
There we go, good answer. Any further questions? So my idea was me and Miss Maddie, Corey, if you've got a timer for like 2 to 3 minutes, me and Miss Maddie can do what is called a roll. And what this is how we primarily practice Jiu-Jitsu. Whenever we get into a class, we'll go through a warm-up and we'll get our body limber and we'll learn some moves and we'll repeat the process over and over and over again so that our body can learn it and master it. But then at the end of class, we do what is called rolling, which is essentially she lines up, I line up, and we slap hands, bump fists, and we get into not a real fight, but a fight. And we're working on our moves and we're seeing who's gonna come out on top. So y'all wanna watch one of those?
Yes.
All right, let's see. Got a timer ready? All right, we slap, bump.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. It's too small.
Mia does this. She does like on the
I don't do
Yeah, Mia.
Oh yeah, but you like do
I
matches.
spar. I don't throw people on the ground.
It's fine.
I kick people. I don't throw them on the ground.
Oh, you can throw them when you're sparring too. I mean, you could. If you kick him and they fall over, then you technically go in the
I
ground.
used to spar. I don't do all
I feel like I'm in UFC.
Very complicated. Sometimes painful dance.
We do this on the bars.
You understood? I saw the chair. Ooh.
Just anything that you were amazed by in there?
Everything.
Everything.
That looked fun. Like a
Now-
lot of fun.
A lot of what you were seeing in that came from years and years and years of training. Personally, I've done martial arts for 19 years. I'm only 24 years old, so I started at 5. I've had more years in my life learning this activity than I've had not. Miss Maddie, on the other hand, she's had 3 years of training. And so through the time that we've put in, we've trained our body, we've gotten ourselves into the motion, and we've gotten ourselves to a point where we can handle what looks like a scary situation for most people. Wuss. Any questions?
What?
Thank you, Mia.
Yes, Paul.
Bastards.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not really a question, but I think my dad does jiu-jitsu.
You think your dad does jiu-jitsu? That's pretty cool. A lot of people do jiu-jitsu. And when I was younger, I didn't think that many people did it. But it's gotten to be something that is a lot more popular. I've grown a whole lot. And it is a very good thing to teach kids what they are capable of. And it doesn't matter whether you are young or if you're getting close to high school or already in high school. And I've even seen people that are as old as 60 and 70 years old start jiu-jitsu, because it truly is something that no matter who you are, no matter what weakness you think you have, no matter what you believe to be holding you back, you can overcome it. Is there somebody else in the Bible that says that? Does Jesus not preach the same thing? Doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, you can do it. And I believe that in my heart, Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu have taught me very similar things. You don't need to be held back by the Goliaths in this world, by the issues in this world, by the problems that make you scared to get up, make you scared to go to school, make you scared to go do things that normally you would love. And my hope is that I can have further opportunities to talk to kids like you, talk to students like you, and teach students like you how to train themselves and prepare themselves for some of the problems that might come in life. Because they're here. The world is very real. I wish we could act like it was all rainbows and sunshine. But the truth of the matter is even at the young age that you're at, you've already got to discover how difficult life can be, how tough and scary things can be. And again, you were not given a spirit of fear. You were given a spirit of power. And if there's something in your life that is making you feel constantly afraid, then we need to work on that. We need to fix that. Because you don't deserve to feel that way. You don't deserve to live that way. God has anointed you to be more than that.
Amen.
To be better than that. And I thoroughly believe that with some effort, with some training, with the desire to grow and be better, anybody with any problem can learn to overcome through Jiu-Jitsu. Wuss!
Wuss.
Miss Maddie?
I think we have a volunteer who wants to experience a little bit of Creed. We have a volunteer.
Why me?
I think he's been waiting for this moment in his all his life. Yeah, I know him very well.
Well, let's have
He's
Sarah
one of my
take
students.
his
He's one of
shoes
my
off. What's your
best
name, sir?
students.
Creed. Will you come on up here too? We can teach us.